Hey, here we are. Scotty Braun and Lance Brozdowski from Marquee joining us right now, and Carlos Collazo, my buddy from Baseball America. I'm Scott Braun. We're going to call a game. We're going to call a Nationals Pirates game. I want you to take a deep breath, okay? Because this is not any Nationals Pirates game. This is a Paul Skenes versus Dylan Cruz game. So I'm actually having trouble even deciding which person to tee up first to say hello to because I know they're both excited about this. But Carlos, since we do a lot of Baseball America hot sheet shows together, Lance was on our show earlier today. I'll give him the stage first. Lance, thanks for joining us as our guest. How you doing, man?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me. Skenes. This lined up. When you guys told me we were doing this, I was like, oh, there's like 1 in 5 chance we get Skenes, and that converted.
Yes, I am very excited about this. Obviously, yeah, there are some Nationals Pirates matchups that can look, a little less fun than this one. So we do have Brad Lord, who's kind of an interesting story on the other side. We actually had him on our show on Foul Territory not too long ago. But anyway, let's get to the headliners here. Carlos, how you doing? Are you ready for Skenes versus Cruz?
I'm thrilled. I might be a little bit more excited if Dylan Cruz had lived up already to all the hype that I have personally been putting on his name because I is probably the highest person in the BA office on Dylan Cruz. But yeah, we got 1-2 in the 2023 draft. Teammates, we had Cruz ranked 1 in the class. We had Skeens ranked 2. Obviously, they go in the inverted order. Seeing them match up for the first time in the major leagues is just going to be a lot of fun. So I'm pumped. I can't wait.
Think
Might
you're
be
muted,
muted.
Scott.
Muted, Scott.
We'll
There we
preview
go.
the game for the next 5 minutes. Here we go. And if you're watching us on YouTube, what'll eventually happen is we'll go away. We'll give you a few innings, but then we're going to go away, and we're going to continue to tell you that you should join us on Playback. Why? Because it's free to get an account, and it's the MLB.TV free game of the day. So you are paying $0 today to watch a game with us all in real time, all together. So I'll emphasize again to those of you sometimes that are like, oh, I don't have the right account set up. You just have to log in and set up an account, and then you can watch this game with us, depending on the market you're in. But that's not our problem. So if you're in the wrong market, we can have a separate conversation about that on Foul Territory. Anyway, let's preview this game. So first off, Carlos, do you want to give us an idea of some of the young up and comers and where these two teams are at from a prospect perspective? We have, two of the brightest minds, obviously, in draft, player development, scouting, etc. So where are these teams at? Because you're going to have a lot of fans that are watching that are just a fan of checking out a quote national game with us covering it. But also there will be some Nationals and Pirates fans that are like, when is it our time?
Yeah, so both these teams I think are in the process of rebuilds. Obviously, the last few years haven't exactly been the strongest. I think the Nationals are a little bit further ahead just in terms of the quality and quantity of the prospects that they've graduated. I think the Nationals are looking at like the third youngest team in terms of average age of players on the roster right now, and a lot of those players are guys we're really excited about. James Wood, Dylan Cruz, obviously first among them, who are graduated now from official prospect status, but were guys who we had top 10, and we expect them to be franchise sort of players, perennial all-star types. CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, obviously a little bit further ahead, but it's a really exciting young core. The system right now, as it stands, is a little bit more middle of the pack, but they are picking first overall in the draft this year, so they've got another opportunity to add some more impact talent. And then I think from the Pirates side of things, it's a ton of arms. You've seen a lot of them. Paul Skeens is obviously the headliner. Everyone is aware of him, but they've graduated. Or I'm not actually sure if Thomas Harrington is fully graduated, but Thomas Harrington is a top 100 prospect who we've gotten a taste of early this year. Maybe not quite as dynamic as Bubba Chandler, who is one of the top pitching prospects in the game. Who is ready in my mind. It's just a matter of when he's going to get that call. His fastball velocity has been awesome early this year. There are a couple exciting hitting prospects in the system between Connor Griffin, who they just drafted, Tamar Johnson, who I think still has a chance to be a pretty exciting player. But they've done a really, really good job in terms of pitching development specifically in the last few years. And they're picking 6th in the draft. So again, another team that's got a chance to add a little bit more. Maybe they can continue infusing some offense into the organization. I would personally like that. I think there are a lot of interesting high school shortstops in this year's class. But yeah, I think they're two really fun teams. This matchup is going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully they'll start to be more competitive at the big league level.
Lance, what do you got on these two?
Yeah, I think it's been tough sledding for both. I'll definitely echo Carlos's point on the pitching side. I think the Pirates have done a really good job. Really fun, exciting arms. Like even outside of Chandler, Mike Burrows looks pretty good. Variety of other guys that are like popping around there that I think will eventually make impact, and they'll have a pretty formidable rotation. But that team is the worst WRC plus in baseball right now, and they haven't been able to develop Brian Hayes. Connor Griffin looks great, but I don't know what the track record is there to give you confidence that like that's exactly the team I want him going into from a hitting development standpoint. So I think we're running into the situation where some of these teams rebuilding, because of how data has progressed on the pitching side, they tend to like accelerate that pitching development really nicely, and then the hitting maybe is still a little art sciencey blend, so it lags behind in some orgs. And I think you've seen this in like various places. Nationals, I think to some extent is an example. Like they have Travis Sikora and a couple other really interesting minor league arms that are fun. Like this Lord guy throws hard, weird angles and stuff. So like in Mackenzie Gore, they made some good tweaks with I thought this offseason, lowering the fastball usage. But on the hitting side, it's a comparable idea, right? You probably haven't fully actualized C.J. Abrams. Wood is a really fascinating hitter. We'll talk about a bit. He lets the ball get so deep in his swing. I think I'm confident both these teams will eventually swing around and be competitive. I think I'm most worried about like, what do you do to the Pirates offense to get them not being terrible for the first time in like 3 years? I don't entirely know what to do. I'm not trying to be critical, but like a lot of the time you can just look at the stats and see like this team is not hitting, and I'm not entirely sure why.
Is it unfair to ask them with the, I hate to make it just a payroll thing, but to ask them to do everything so precisely well in baseball, right? Like they've done a nice job, like you guys are mentioning, developing some pitching. They haven't done as well of a job developing position players, but at the payroll they're at, when they never ever add, and they had been building up to this moment, I mean, you got to attack free agency or at least trades a little bit more, don't you?
I think I agree. I'll let Carlos jump in too, but I would say quickly, like the thing you see with the lower payroll teams is that you like differentiate in some way. So like the Guardians, the Brewers are like super contact oriented. Maybe the Guardians have kind of pushed away from this, but a lot of like bat to ball guys and like Quan, Freeman, like all these types that are like, okay, just put bat on ball. Maybe we'll get some of these guys to develop power. And the Rays are somewhat comparable, but they tend to go after these more like exceptional trait guys like Isaac Paredes, etc. They run into some like better raw exit velocities on their bats, but I just think like I wish I saw some refinement where it was like we're taking this approach and this is what we're doing, because I feel like you have to do that. You have to find some edge that maybe isn't priced properly in the market when you're trying to be a budget-friendly hitting department, and I don't really see that, Carlos, from the Pirates right now. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, well, it's a lot harder to do what you were just saying. I think it's a lot easier to just throw some money at it, like Scott mentioned. I mean, what are the expectations for your offense if you are quite literally never investing in the lineup? I mean, we've mentioned some guys who have some upside, but are a ways away in terms of like expectations for them doing it in a major league lineup. Maybe it's a case where you find that you're really good at pitching development. All of a sudden, you've invested in that. Maybe you can trade from that strength in the near future, like a sort of Red Sox White Sox trade that we saw. Add a few exciting offensive prospects to the system who are near proximity. That could be an avenue that they go down. But again, I mean, I feel like the lowest hanging fruit here for the Pirates is to just invest a little bit more in the team to add an immediate offensive contributor who can perform at the major league level.
Yeah, we know they're not doing that. I mean, they haven't done it in a while. So they're just kind of relying on drafting and player development. I mean, it is what it is. A few veterans sprinkled in. Kutch has actually had a really nice start to the season at the plate for them, which I think's been a bonus, if anything. I mean, at some point, the bat and even the plate discipline's probably going to decline a little more the way that people attack him. But I mean, he's off to a decent start. You sign a guy like Pham. Great, professional hitter, guy that some others can learn from, but they don't have superstars that they're picking up off free agency. So it does make a difference here. They're off to a slow start. It's actually usually more of a fast starting ball club that fades, right? We've seen that the last few years from Pittsburgh. I mean, Lance, you cover the NL Central quite a bit. Yeah, I'm sure you're like me at this point where you're like, yeah, I'm not falling for, the 12-5 Pirates. This time around, it's kind of the flip here. I mean, they've been off to a really slow start as a team, and I think that's why Pittsburgh's pretty concerned. So a day like today goes a long way. It sounds silly, but mean, they're looking for 8 shutout innings from Paul Skenes and, a 5-0 win to feel good about themselves here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I think this James Wood Skenes matchup is going to be really fun off the top. I just think it's such an interesting hitter. I think he does relatively well against velo. He lets the ball get super deep. He goes to Oppo a ton. I know everyone's like, oh, just pull the ball. He'll hit 40 homers. But I think he might be an exception maybe to that pull everything approach. I don't know if you guys have thought of that. But.
Well, he also was just so good at handling velocity, even going back to his high school days. I remember watching him the summer before his draft spring, and he was barreling mid-90s out of the zone. He's got such long levers. He has such great plate coverage. And your point, like James Wood is not a guy who needs to use the pull side to get to his home run power. He can miss hit balls the other way with the best of them. So what he's been doing so far has been working pretty well in the early going.
We're just about getting set to go here. Lance Brostowski and Carlos Collazo with me, Scott Braun, Foul Territory, Playback, Altcast of the Nationals and the Pirates. If you're watching us on YouTube, sign in on Playback. Go to our Playback page. It is very easy to accomplish that. And this is the MLB.TV free game of the day. I cannot say that enough. So even if you don't have an MLB.TV account, now's the time. I don't work for MLB anymore. I'm just telling you, it's a free game. It's free, baby. So log in, watch with us. Skenes Day, ready to go here as the Nationals will be in town now in Pittsburgh for the next few days. And we got the best matchup in our minds. So let's get this going. Alex Call takes strike 1 from Skenes.
Big thing that jumps out about Skenes to me from a usage perspective is like year over year, he's thrown a ton more of his splinker, which is tracked as a sinker. It's kind of this weird, depthy pitch of his. It's not usually the 99. It's a little tick below that he just threw. I think that was a 4-seam away he dotted. But he's really floored this, pushed the ceiling on the usage of this pitch. And I think I wonder if it's a byproduct of him trying to go deeper into games and get more ground ball contact. I don't know if you have a thought there, Los.
Well, I'm curious what your thoughts are on the separation of the splinker and this new sinker that's being tagged a few ticks harder. Is this a pitch that's just blending together? Have you been interested in like what that has looked like early on? And for me, he was mostly fastball, slider, changeup, and it's just crazy to see how he can seemingly add pitches at will that are plus immediately with good command.
Yeah, I don't know. The two-seam thing is weird because it was also a rumor that he was throwing like a cutter, right? And I don't see either of those really in the data. Maybe there's a two-seamer in there, but it's not like crazy notable from my perspective. 99 up there, geez.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a great point. I feel like sometimes we get a little carried away in spring when we don't have anything else to talk about, and it's like, look at this guy adding new pitches, and then we go a weekend and we're like, oh, none of those pitches actually mattered. You know what I mean?
It does feel like pitchers adding pitches is like I'm in the best shape of my life at this point with all of our pitch design and everyone's getting on the Repsodo in the off season. But I think it's also interesting too, like some of these really athletic pitchers, Skenes, we saw it with Jackson Jobe. There does seem to be an ability for some of these guys.
Bouncer to third. Yeah, there's Hayes to put him away. 1 down.
Yeah, some of these guys who just have innate ability to spin the ball or just really advanced proprioception or know their bodies or just great athletes maybe who can just seemingly add something overnight.
Yeah, it's really cool, I think, how the league's developed in that sense. And also it's funny to me to see sometimes, like, I think Job even might have mentioned this preseason where you get up to the bigs and then you're like, oh, actually my stuff doesn't work. Like the reason I love Job in the minors is because he had a nasty sweeper and changeup. And then this year he's like, I'm just not really going to throw those bitches. I need to get in his zone more. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, here's our money matchup right here.
Here we go.
That's right. James Wood v. Paul Skenes. 977 OPS in the first few weeks here for Wood.
And power on power. This is fun.
He might pitch him a little differently from the rest of the lineup.
How would you pitch him, Scott?
How would I pitch James Wood? Me personally, not quite like that, but that's one that he could handle. But he's just challenging him power on power there with a nice late movement on the heater, 99.
I think one of the things that's frustrating, I guess, as a hitter with Skenes, apart from the fact that he's throwing 99, but I remember a start last year against the Cubs where he went into Wrigley and just decided that he wanted to throw his changeup almost 30% of the time, and it just like decimated the Cubs hitters because I imagine in the report there was nowhere there that was like, you're going to get a changeup right, or you're going to get a changeup 20% of the time as Michael Busch. And he has this weird ability, I think, to almost be what I call like a random number generator, where he can just kind of do whatever he wants. And I know we're seeing more Splinker, but like for the first couple of hitters here, I'm pretty sure he's just ripping four-seam fastballs, which is like, that's kind of what he was doing last year, but he would actually like push that pitch later into counts. He wouldn't like start guys with it. This we got like an injury here or something.
Yeah, it looks like Andy Rodriguez is heading back to the dugout.
Ooh.
Oh, maybe bleeding on his pointer finger.
What happened there?
Let's see.
Oh, he hit his right hand on the. Yeah.
Missed the glove.
Oof.
Oh.
Hit the right hand. Damn.
Right thumb, maybe?
Oh, man.
Oh, here's a good angle.
Yeah, this is your angle.
A little ricochet off. Was it off his mid or the dirt?
Yeah, I almost knocked my stuff over. It looked like maybe here?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, right? He went right to the dugout, though. That's not like a shake it off and stay there. He knew something was wrong immediately. That's not great.
Andy Rodriguez.
Backup catcher Joey Bart. Still on team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, see that? So that hit Wood's toe first. Yep.
Wow, they pulled him. That was a Henry Davis. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Henry Davis.
Hey, speaking of draft, Los.
Yeah. This is the Carlos Collazo game right now. We're talking about Henry Davis now going a few years back, the former number 1 overall pick, and Wood gets first here.
Yeah, he was a big underslot guy at 1-1 for the Pirates in that class. We had Henry Davis kind of in that top tier of draft prospects in the class, and there was no obvious guy number 1. They took him 1, go underslot, and a lot of their savings they pushed towards Bubba Chandler, who we were talking about a little bit earlier. So we'll see how that class develops. But yeah, Henry Davis was just a monster with the bat coming out of Louisville, coming out of college.
He's still going no batting gloves. I know that's not applicable here as a catcher, but
I truly hope so because he was such a like Midwest grinder type.
Yeah,
just a hard-nosed guy. It was awesome. It's funny too. The development, like Louisville, is such a good college catcher development school. They have been in the past. Like Henry Davis had huge swing questions coming out of high school, and he had a cannon arm. I think he was getting 70 grade feedback on his throwing arm as a high schooler, and then it was like, okay, how much is he going to hit? The swing is a little steep, it's really raw, and then he made really strong strides throughout his time at school offensively, and obviously that paid off handsomely for him.
Jamin in the chat, we'll get a few comments here as we go. Coming off the bench, cold to catch Skenes.
Yeah. It's just catcher's worst nightmare, I imagine.
I think the thing too that it probably isn't as bad as you might think, because Skenes, I feel like even today, and maybe you guys can push back if you don't agree, even today I think Skenes' command is undersold a bit just because the stuff is so good.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that we do a poor job, I think, generally contextualizing command relative to velocity, I think Driveline's done some studies and looked at this stuff and seen that generally as you throw harder, your miss goes up, relative to where your intended target is. So like, this is why I always thought like DeGrom has a lot of reasons he's great, but DeGrom could also dot 99. That's probably one of the main reasons why he was incredible. Like you could talk about the release and four-seam approach and get really nerdy, but like I think Skenes is similar. I don't know if it's as good a finite command, but he's super good like arm side, glove side, and like up down generally, I think. And maybe that's like the middle road of command that allows you to eventually get that finite like, hey, now I'm going to move my four-seam in and out as opposed to just locking arm side to lefties like he does and stuff. So.
Yeah, I think with Skenes in particular, he got all of these fastball shape questions coming out of college that I felt like were unwarranted, because even in college, with whatever the fastball shape was at the time, he was getting tons of miss. People weren't hitting it, and I think a big part of that is he's sitting 98 in college and holding it, so you get a lot of room for error. And he also just has always thrown strikes at a really high level. He knows where he's putting the ball, and like you were saying, Lance, the harder you throw, the more room for error you're going to get. And then if you also compound that with just inability to spot it where you want, it's really difficult for opposing hitters. Not even getting into his secondaries. So I think it's easier to maybe look at the stuff plus numbers, and it's harder to see command and control without actually watching it. So maybe that's one of the reasons.
It looks like he's also battling the Nats tonight. I mean, the GNATS, not just the NATS.
A little Java Chamberlain throwback
Did you see?
game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the midges getting all comfortable around his beard. Not fun. It's getting a little warmer. Yeah, Ruiz is off to a great start this year, too. On base percentage, fantastic. He chases, and Skenes picks up his first punch out.
There's that changeup
there, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for changeups in general, Lance. I don't know if you are too, or if you are, Scott, but I mean, he flashed this in college, but he never needed to use it because he's throwing 98 and he had a slider that was getting double plus grades at the time. And now the slider and changeup are very distant pieces of his arsenal these days.
Yeah, and you saw like that rotation on the ball, like that how the seam was lapping in the middle. Like that's kind of this like one seam idea that a lot of guys are going towards. I know the Yankees are big on this with a lot of their changeups and sinkers. It allows you to like pick up a lot of drop. It seems like he's had the same grip since college. It's just that's become more of like a modern changeup thought to get guys towards like depth at velo. It's a super nerdy point there, but like if you look at like a standard changeup, a lot of the time it'll just look like four seam spin, or it'll look a little different. But that's like almost like it'll look like a disco ball to some extent, right? Where it's like the middle has a wire to it, which is that red seam lapping. Ooh.
All right, that pitch or that check to first gets away. So James Wood will hustle to second, get himself into scoring position. I mean, they were really giving Adam Frazier a lot of action at first. I think that was at least the third, if not fourth, pickoff attempt since Wood reached.
Yeah, Wood was jumping there a little too. I think his first move was right before he got back. They might have had him if that throw was.
You got to catch this one, I think. Yeah, I think you got to catch that one.
Yeah.
The fact that James Wood is as big as he is and runs like that is just silly. We got two big monsters who can run between him and O'Neal Cruz today.
That's always one of the most impressive things athletically to me in any sport is a big dude who can run. Because I'm like 6'4" and I'm like the slowest human on earth. And like I remember Bradley Zimmer back in the day, the old outfielder for the now Guardians.
Yes.
He was always one that I was like, man, like that guy's so fun because he's an absolute gazelle. He had like top 20th percentile, sprint speeds and stuff. Could never put it together, but he was like the OG for me of like, wow, that guy's huge and he can run. I love it.
Yeah, we're getting used to it. We're getting very comfortable with, a James Wood being able to fly, right? And Ellie being able to fly. I mean, Gallo's a big dude. I know now he's trying to come back as a pitcher, but he could move pretty good too for a big power bat. Nice pick over there at short by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. That'll put away the Nats here in the top of the first. I mean, one of the big stories is Andy Rodriguez okay. Henry Davis takes over for the rest of the game here to catch Skenes. So we'll get to the bottom half of the first coming up in just a moment. During some of these breaks, by the way, we'll flip over to a game for a minute, but we don't want to miss a pitch. So we'll be quick on it. But just to let you know what we work with here on Playback. And again, if you're watching on YouTube right now, super simple. Head over to Playback, sign up. You can log into MLB.tv to watch the game for free. Scotty Braun, Lance Brostowski, and Carlos Collazo with you. Eventually, Carlos, you're going to make a call to the bullpen and bring in your buddy JJ, right?
Yeah, I'm more of an opener these days, so we're going to bring in the crafty veteran.
There you go. And by the way, I think I said, Frazier at first. Obviously, Frazier's playing second, and Manuel Valdez playing first for the Pirates. I mean, not the name that I would have expected to be playing first base for the Pirates, but also kind of a good example of what we're talking about here, Lance. There's a very, very obvious need at the position for them. They actually had a better bat and Rowdy Tellez, who I know went through some ups and downs for them last year, but picked up the pace after a really slow start. And then they do acquire Spencer Horwitz, who does have some good peripherals and some potential. He got hit with a pretty bad wrist injury right at the start of spring training, or maybe it was already a thing that was lingering. And you just can't have a weak spot like this at a position like first base if you're Pittsburgh.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I wonder whether they just didn't have that much of a backup plan with Horowitz stuff. Like that seemed like a good acquisition at the time. It was kind of like an interesting buy on a guy who has reasonable, some of the underlying batted ball data there looks fun. But yeah, they really need like a Nick York or a Horowitz or one of these guys to step up and like be intimidating in the lineup, because it's just not a lot of guys there that you're like scared to pitch to. You know what I mean? It's just unfortunate. I mean, there's such a good staff, and we were mentioned earlier, but like I just think that rotation is going to be unreal in a year or two. It's just going to be so fun to watch. But it's going to be one of those things where I'm watching MLB TV, and when they come up to hit them, I'll be flipping to someone else because I just want to watch their pitchers.
Exactly. I mean, hey, dare to dream, and that's what I do with a show every day. It was not unrealistic if they were in a different position to say, what about Pete Alonso for this team? Pete didn't sign for massive money in MLB terms, right? How perfect of a fit would someone like that have been? There's Cruz with a liner. They were in the right spot for him. One down quickly on 2 pitches for Brad Lord. Nice play by Nunez, who's, I believe, making his season debut tonight. Nunez.
Yeah, and Brad Lord is just a really great scouting find for the Nationals. 18th rounder out of the 2022 class. He was not a guy that we had on the BA 500. $150,000 sign. Really already has made his. He's already been extremely valuable for that pick. Like it's a success story no matter what he does. Good start last week as well. We expect a lot of balls in play, maybe weak contact. He avoided barrels really nicely in his first start of the year. But yeah, the 4-seam for him basically looks like a 2-seam or a sinker for most pitchers, and he's got this really low slot. So nice job by signing scout Alex Morales for the Nationals.
Yeah, Los nailed that. It's a kind of sinkery 4-seam, low slot. Primary locations like down in the zone too. You're going to see it a lot. But I thought the thing that was interesting is if you look at like his count specific usage, he doesn't go to his slider as he pushes into deep count situations. So it's like 65% fastball, and then like it doesn't matter if he's behind in the count or he's ahead in the count, he's just throwing 65% fastball. So I mean, if you want to talk about a guy who's like singular pitch and he's relying on it because he's confident in it, like it's Brad Lord with the 4-seam. Maybe there's a little too much. Maybe you cap the strikeout upside with a guy like this because of that. But I mean, I like the fact that he's 96. I think in the past, maybe the Nationals would have gone after a guy like this and he would have been like 93 and they would have been like, the angles are going to work, and they don't. But I'll take 97 most days of the week.
Well, he was pitching around 92 miles per hour out of college, so he's added about 3 ticks overall on average. Yeah, I didn't know it either. Just doing some prep for it. Like again, he was not a guy we were super aware of. I think he was 22 at the time, so college senior type, a few years in junior college, a few years at South Florida, and pretty mediocre college results in terms of like the ERA, the strikeouts. He's never been a huge strikeout guy, but yeah, a lot of balls in play we're going to rely on here.
Nunez, welcome to the show this year. He's got another one. First 2 outs to the shortstop.
Yeah, and he can pick it too. We'll see what he can do offensively, but he's kind of always stood out for his glove. And it's funny think about him subbing in for CJ Abrams, both 2019 draft prospects coming out of high school. CJ Abrams was a top, I think it was 6th overall to the Padres. Nasim Nunez went a little bit later, but we had them both as top 50, and they were 2 of the more exciting defensive shortstops in the class at the time.
Yeah, Abrams hitting the shelf for a little bit of time here now with the Nationals. Depth getting tested early for them too. Tough division for the Nats. Good rip from McCutchen. Drops one into center, and there's a 2-out base runner for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Cutchin Reynolds, who were just over the 2 guys I had highlighted as like trying to look at guys in the league in the last 2 years who've hit low slot, highly velo 4-seamers. Pirates don't really have a ton of them, but Reynolds mashes them, and Kutch was like a little bit above average. So those are the 2 names that I highlighted as like, he could throw the fastball could be as good as you want, but it's one of those like, I'm going to use my strength, and it's actually the hitter's strength. It's like what wins out, and it's a good knock from Kutch right there.
I mean, how many guys are throwing 65% 4-seamers these days?
I'll look for you. It's a great question. Can't imagine a lot, especially as a starting pitcher. That seems unlikely.
Guesstimate. I mean, how many guys throwing 65% or even say 60% 4-seam or more among starting pitchers? 10%?
Yeah, take a guess before. Let's see.
How many are we guessing percent or number of pitchers, number of starters who have a 65% plus fastball rate?
We'll go number of starters. We'll go minimum 5 innings. So as a starting pitcher this year, minimum 5 innings. Who has 65% plus? How many guys individually?
I'll say 6 or 7. I'll say 6.
Yeah, I feel like my 10% was too hot. So let's say I'll go 10.
You guys are both way hot on this.
Oh wow. I thought there'd be a couple.
Oh, hold on. Are we talking
over a full season?
4-seam or 4-seam sinker combined?
I'd say just throw all fastballs together, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That'll change the number here. Hold on.
Yeah, 4-seam.
What do we have? I mean, if we're doing 4-seam sinker, we're looking at like 80% for Brad Lord here today.
Yeah. So 4-seam alone, I have like, let me see here. Let me get this right. Let me make sure I'm right. 4-seam alone, Brad Lord is the only pitcher in baseball throwing 65% plus. The next is Ben Brown at 62%. But when you combine 4-seam sink, it's going to be probably a little more.
Yeah.
A little more.
Well, is that basically going off just as 1 3-inning start? I will be curious what the pitch usage looks like for him if he goes deeper, because he's had a few outings out of the pen, just 3 innings his last time out. Really wouldn't think you have to dive too deep into your bag, but the slider and changeup are definitely not his focal points of the arsenal.
Yeah, he was still pretty hot on 4-seam last year in the minors from what I'm seeing right now. He was around like 50%. So it seems like maybe he's backed off the sinker a little this year from what I can tell, but it's still really cool. Let me see how many guys are throwing 4-seam and sink to combine 65 plus. 1 sec.
You're good. I feel like even visually, like distinguishing between the 4-seam and the 2-seam live without the pitch tracking is kind of difficult at times. There's just so much movement.
Yeah, a little poke there from Hayes, and here comes McCutchen. He's going to score, and the check over to first got Hayes, but the run comes in. So Brian Hayes comes through to right and makes this a 1-0 lead for Pittsburgh. Gets caught at first. Kutch is just going to do that every time he's got to go, a couple bags home. He told us, he's like, I think because he played the outfield, he's playing some outfield, I guess, this year. He's playing outfield today, too. He's like, I don't know, man. I don't really want to do it, but I kind of have to right now with the way the team's set up. But good for them. They get a run here off of Lord to start things off. We'll swing over to Philly for a moment, too. Philly's already up 2-0 over the Giants. Are either of you buying the Giants this season, Lance?
I kind of am. I really like Jung-Woo Lee. Like, he looks great. I like the vet approach on the staff too. Kind of like I guess a yin and yang in that respect, where you got like Roop and Birdsong are kind of young and fun, and then the vets with Verlander and Ray. Webb, I'd consider a vet. Like he's super polished. I just think the NL West is such a bloodbath, right? Like,
yeah.
I would be a little bit surprised if that's like the second best team in the NL West. Like, it's probably still the Padres, but this guy's interesting. Rope's interesting from like a usage perspective. He's another one of these like low slot guys who's super slingy, pretty good curveball, decent breaking balls and such. And Giants, I think, new pitching coach this year, right? Is it JP Martinez, or was he there last year? I'm trying to think.
I'm not sure offhand. But three of the 5 teams who already have double-digit wins all in the NL West, between the Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants, they're hot. And I don't know how you guys are thinking about the D-backs, but I know there are a lot of people who thought they could fight for second. Pretty deep lineup there. So it'll be a fun division. Maybe someone can topple the Dodgers, who everyone in baseball complained about over the offseason as ruining the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And then drop 2 series in a row, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cubs took it to him. Brian Price, by the way, was replaced by JP Martinez. So he's taken over this year as the pitching coach for San Francisco, which, I mean, a pitching coach can probably make the biggest difference in the world for a team, right? If you bring a whole different approach to a ball club that had some good arms, like you could see, pretty good results and different results from some of the guys that are already there. It's not like they had a ton turnover as a ball club. Of course, Adames was the big offseason addition, Verlander, like you mentioned, but other than that, nothing big that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, this base running error really has to hurt if you're a team like the Pirates who just struggles to score runs. Like when you get an opportunity early in a game, start to feel good, and then all of a sudden the momentum is just dead. I don't know if you guys believe in baseball momentum, but certainly with runners in scoring position, things looking good, kind of hurts.
I think I'm a momentum believer to some extent. It's a tough one. I feel like data never backs it up, but like there's some visceral feeling sometimes when you're watching games where you're like, oh god, you know, it's hard
At the
to
very
separate that.
least,
I think from the
it's
numbers.
giving away an out. So even if it's not a
Yeah,
momentum conversation,
yeah, it's tough. You can't have that happen.
I'm definitely a believer. I mean, even a regular season example, I think there was a Dodgers game recently where they came back. Who was it against? But they were down 5-0. It was against the Braves. It was the Otani bobble night. They end up with I might be confusing my games, but they were down 5-0. I think bases loaded. Kasparius is there, gets a huge punch out, and you're just like, uh-oh. Man, they could have put him away here, and all of a sudden they come back. So they could have, obviously, I mean, if he does give up a couple runs there, it changes. But I did feel like the actual escape of a bases loaded jam really, created some offense from them and some life. There's a punch out for Skenes, by the way.
yeah. How about the 4 teams with 50 or fewer runs entering today? White Sox, Pirates, Rockies, and Braves. 3 teams maybe don't surprise you, and one that's kind of shocking.
Yep. That's true. Yeah, 3 that definitely do not surprise me. And the Braves had one of those ridiculous runners in scoring position slumps right at the start of the year. So that played into it a little bit. I'm not that worried about Atlanta. I mean, worried more about the competition around them, but still think it's a pretty good team. And now we know Strider's coming back on Wednesday.
That'll be a huge boost for them.
Yeah. Acuna probably 2 weeks after that. You're not worried about him?
I don't think so. I don't know. It's one of those teams that you feel like maybe they linger around 500 until July, and then like they just rip off 2 months where it's like 70% winning percentage, and next thing you know, they're the top wild card, and they're the fun like heading into the postseason, which team could ruin the Dodgers' plans, and it's like, oh, the Braves, because their loaded lineup and Sale off the top with Strider is like really good in the postseason series.
And they pick up a big, reliever at the deadline.
Yeah,
Anthopoulos is usually good with that. There's a roller to short. Skenes picks up out number 2 in the top of the second. Yeah, the bottom of the lineup here for the Nats, I was just looking through. I mean, it's been really bad to start the year. You've had some hot starts for really, I mean, they're loading it up here. Alex Call, James Wood, Keber Ruiz, and Nate Lowe has put up a nice OPS. And then after that, I mean, it's really been sludge for the second half of the lineup here.
He gets so many awkward swings. I feel like I forgot who just struck out at third, but like that ball is like 2-3 balls off the plate, and Ruiz had the same situation too, where he's just like pounding that like arm side area away to lefties and right now, but he just loves that.
His changeups in particular have all kind of. I'm not sure if he wants him to be that far arm side, but he's basically been entirely arm side with the changeup. A lot of the four-seam fastballs have kind of gone to the arm side, so.
And I love that like he'll occasionally bust you in with the 4-seam too, so you can't like dip out over. I just think like some of those more basic things is super effective. Ooh.
And Cruz can't get to it. A little sliding effort. Paul DeYoung with the base knock here in the top of the second. Have you guys gotten to see much of Cruz in center field this year?
I watched him a lot in college. I haven't seen him this year just because of focus on the amateur stuff and getting blacked out at times. But
talking about O'Neill. I gotta differentiate my Cruzes.
Oh,
when Carlos hears Cruz, he's gonna go Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan. I'm waiting for the matchup. It's coming up. I got
here
Dylan on the mind. Here we go.
All right, we'll talk about the other Cruz later.
Take it away, Les.
I mean, I'm just taking it in. I don't have anything to say. I'm just enjoying it. But the one thing I will mention is like Dylan has struggled early. He is getting thrown first pitch strikes a ton, and he's barely ever swinging at those pitches. I wonder if it's a case where like maybe he just needs to jump on some pitches a little bit earlier because, I mean, pitches are going right after him. But I don't know if you want to swing at a first pitch sweeper from Skenes right there.
Yeah, right. His performance against fastballs this year does not look good, which is weird because like I feel like there's a contingent of hitters in baseball that are like, I mash fastballs, but I can't touch anything else.
Mhm.
You could maybe get to like league average production doing that, But like I don't know what's up with the fastball for him this year. Is it just early season, you think, or
Yeah,
he was
you
good
guys were
against him
talking
last
about
year?
how you weren't too concerned about the Braves moving forward. I think it's a
Yeah.
little too early to be overly worried about Dylan Cruz. I mean, you'd obviously like to see him doing better, but I have no bat speed questions or issues about him catching up to velocity.
Well, Skenes wins the first battle. Nice weak contact right back to him to put away, his former LSU teammate and wrap up the top of the second inning with a 1-0 lead.
It does seem like anecdotally, I'll have to pull up the numbers, but it does seem like Dylan has had a lot of kind of weak rolled over contact early, maybe just like getting behind in counts and getting defensive and enforcing the issue a little bit. His huge strength in college was letting the ball travel and driving it hard the other way, to the point where there is even some criticism about that, like turn on the ball a little bit more, get the ball in the air, homer a little bit more. We'll see what happens with him.
I want to see him get on base more in general. I mean, he was displaying more speed than, not more sprint speed, I guess, but I mean, he was just, his sprint speed clocked pretty highly from what I recall, looking at StatCast metrics, and then he was running. I mean, they were letting him go. They wanted to see, how much that speed would play, and he racked up a good chunk of stolen bases in a small period of time. Talking about Dylan Cruz.
Yeah, he is a good
Yeah.
runner. He could stick in center field and play there. I mean, the Nationals have a number of guys who can play center field at a pretty high level, but right now, looking at the sprint speed, it's 96th percentile. One of the very best runners in the game.
I got burned the other day betting against Easton Lucas. I mean, Easton Lucas against Garrett Crochet. I'm like, all right, I like my chances. Red Sox offense has actually been pretty quiet lately, but this kid's pitching well. All right, we'll make sure we get back to our game in time for the home second here. And hello to everyone in the chat. I am keeping an eye on it, so I appreciate all the questions, the comments that are flowing through. You've got Carlos Collazo from Baseball America, Lance Brazdowski, player development analyst for Marquee. And here we go. Right to Henry Davis, first pitch swinging and finding grass. There's a knock.
Thought he was going to be on the bench swinging first pitch. I like it.
Welcome. Hey, I mean, he's got a lot to prove. He's just called back up. Bart's a little banged up. I don't think IL, but a little banged up. So they wanted to have some insurance.
And you see it. No batting gloves. Henry Davis coming up hacking. That's the Henry Davis we know and love.
There was someone, Great White, in the chat had talked about how the Tigers catch a lot of flack for Torkelson, but he's like, what about the Pirates with Davis 1-1? Tork's off to a fire beginning here this season with the Tigers. Made some changes there to the lower half, but yeah, Davis has been a tough pick for Pittsburgh. I know you mentioned it, Carlos. There wasn't an obvious one. I'd have to look back, but I'm sure there's a few names that we can pick out soon after him where Pirates are like,
the guys you're probably looking at in that class is like 1-1 options would be Jackson Jobe, who went third, or Marcelo Meyer, who went fourth. Marcelo obviously not at the big league level yet, but I mean, I would expect to see him at some point this year. I think he's ready.
There's Pham bouncing into a double play there. Turned 5-4-3. DeYoung starting it up over at third.
I know it's super early, but I think I was looking at like outside of the average leaderboard, so defense, and DeYoung was like a top 3 defender.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. And then I think Tim Anderson was up there too, and I was like, what is it with these former White Sox? Like, come on.
The top of that 2021 draft we're talking about, where Henry Davis was picked first overall, probably is not the most exciting. Black ball here.
There you go. Quick one. Adam Frazier lining out to left. So, who else did we have there?
So 1 through 5, it was Henry Davis out of Louisville to the Pirates, Jack Leiter out of Vanderbilt to the Rangers, Jackson Jobe, Marcelo Meyer, who I just mentioned, to the Tigers and Red Sox, and then 5th was Colton Cowser. If you're looking at some of like the best returns from that class right now, go deep into the 20s. Gavin Williams, 23rd to the Guardians out of East Carolina. And then probably the biggest one, but Jackson Merrill, 27th to the Padres out of high school in Maryland.
Yeah, and with some of those guys, I mean, I know there's some variance, but most teams probably didn't have those upper 20s guys towards the top of their board. But when
For
you
sure.
do mention, a Meyer, a Job, that's where Pirates fans are like, damn, you didn't have this reshuffled a little bit. And also, Carlos, my thing with the draft, with playing around with money and trying to save it for later sometimes works out great. But I'm just like, when you get 1-1, I hope that everybody around the room was like, yo, this is the guy. This is the guy either way. So we're saving a little bit of money, but he's our one for sure. It's not because we're trying to save a little money on someone else we like later on. I'm okay with the strategy, but I don't love it when you're picking really high up.
That makes sense. I mean, the 5 consensus names we had at the top that you would probably realistically be picking at if you redrafted would be Davis, Jack Leiter, Jackson Jobe, Marcelo Meyer, and then Jordan Lawler. And I guess the 6th, you could have Kumar Rocker, who went 10th that year. That was the year that he went to the Mets and didn't sign. But the interesting thing with the Henry Davis pick is if you want to knock it as a Pirates fan, you definitely can. You can critique the strategy, but you also can't assume that you get Bubba Chandler, 72nd overall. He signed for $3 million, which is late first round money that year. So I do tend to agree with you, though, Scott. I'd much rather just take the best player and pay them instead of doing the portfolio underslot approach, which is increasingly common.
Yeah.
Might happen this year.
Right. I just think when you're so high up in that draft, like if you do have a little dissension and you're picking one guy over the other, but you feel like it was close enough and you made the decision because of money, you better be damn right. Because if you're wrong, one guy could be a total bust and one could be a superstar. Here is JJ Cooper joining us now from Baseball America 2. JJ, welcome to the party. How you doing?
How's everybody?
Really good. Really good. Carlos is doing, I would say, better than all of us. He got his Skenes Cruz matchup pretty early on here, advantage Skenes to start.
I mean, so basically I was just thinking about coming in because I'm coming in cold, but like I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'll just throw this question out there because Skenes lived up to it last year, and we were making comparisons to Strasburg when he did about like when Strasburg arrived. Who's the other pitcher who you feel like, that just stands out as someone who basically arrived and from day one you were just like, okay, yes, there was a lot of hype and this is every bit living up to that hype or more?
First guy I thought of was Jose Fernandez, probably.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is a good one. I mean,
I have to think. Huh.
I don't remember. See, the thing for me is even when you talk about Strasburg now, you go so far back that I don't remember, what it looked like the first few months. I remember that first start being dynamite, but I don't remember if it carried right off the jump. Did it?
It was really good, I would say. Like, now that first start was like I was watching Kerry Wood, in that, in the crazy strikeout game, kind of like, whoa, this is just a better level of stuff than anyone else. And then after that, I think it was good, but it wasn't at that level of absurdity.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. Like, I mean,
it's tough.
Fernandez is a great one because, like, he was one who he kind of like showed up, and it was like he was fully formed. Like, we don't get that very often nowadays.
Yeah, it's tough too because like I feel like I could come up with some more recent ones. Like, Bryce Miller's looked pretty good since he came up. Like both those double-A jumpers, Schwellenbach and Miller, they both look great. But I mean, we only have so much sample on them for us to be like, yes, since they got called up, they've been exceptional. So I'm not confident in saying those are my two answers. George Kirby jumps to mind too. He was pretty great from the jump, right? He's been kind of a metronome, although he's hurt right now. But I'm not sure, again, if they're like at the standard you're talking about or the level of success we're talking about here with Skenes. So that might be the distinction there that kind of nullifies my couple answers.
JJ, round 2 for our power matchup here.
Yeah, here we go. We got Wood v. Skenes coming at you again. Well, we might as well ask JJ too how he would attack him.
How I would attack Wood?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretend you can throw like Paul Skenes
currently-
too.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always try to stay inside because obviously his power is when he gets those arms extended. Now, I think that Wood has always been really smart about this. Like going back to when he was in the minors, like he kind of realized, hey, I'm long. So he kind of, he kind of strategized that he was kind of almost challenging you. He'd set up in a way that would challenge you to go away against him, which is exactly what he wanted. But it also worked really well from a standpoint of, because he did that, it also meant that he wasn't going to be jammed as much inside.
I got some homework from last time we were talking about it. So Wood was batting 162 on fastballs down last season. And that was 7th worst among hitters with at least 241 total plate appearances.
So
Great.
see, you're doing the actual work. I'm just trying to theorize.
Trying to rely on a little bit of homework here on the scouting report. There's the heat up. Got him.
Nice.
But I mean, he just, that was an impressive little sequence there just now, Lance, from Skenes. I mean, changing eye angles. Obviously, he's mostly, I think he was just fastball and he poured one slider in there.
Yeah, slider change up foul.
All right.
Yeah, I mean he's just ripping like the outer third of the plate. I want to see. Let me go back to this first AB versus Wood.
Yeah, some of these I don't think are intentional that far away, but
Yeah, he's just kind of like taking that outer third and is like, I'm gonna throw everything right here. Even like the backdoor sweeper take, like that's such a nasty pitch.
yeah,
I think like we fantasize a lot of righty big sweeper guys throwing them to lefties for called strikes, but so many guys just don't have the command to actually put it outer third and not miss it back middle. And like sweeper right to left generally doesn't do well when it's middle to middle in against lefties, unless you're like picking up a ton of drop like a Sonny Gray or something like that. But it's a hack when you're a guy like him who could take that pitch and rip it and like confidently land it outer third for strikes. I just think it sets up. It's just it's like a free stick. It's kind of like the curveball that's high that drops into the zone. There's just no shot. Like you're not, as a hitter ever registering that I'm going to swing at this pitch because the entirety of its break is ball. It's like ball, strike, and it's like cool. You tip your cap, and that's how he when that AB got back in the count with that. Let me see.
All right, so we're going to break. We're going to say bye to Carlos. Carlos, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Obviously, you can read all of Carlos's work on baseballamerica.com, and you can see him on Hot Sheet on our Baseball America show with Foul Territory crew as well. Thanks, Carlos. Good hangs.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. See you soon. All right, so you got Lance, JJ, and myself to carry us through the rest. You can do that. So we're back live. Here we go. All right, you can do that. So we're back live. Here we go. All right, yes, we're back. A lot of people asking what the deal is here. All right, we're back. Oh, and by the way,
we're already splinted.
Yes, yeah, already with a splint. Not great.
And by the way, we're still working on getting my blackout cleared. So I'm kind of going by I have play-by-play up for now.
You want me to give you pitch by pitch, JJ? Take you back.
You don't have to do that. Everyone else can see it. So.
Yeah.
You could do it. I know you could. It'd be good. But
it's been a minute. O'Neill Cruz fouling that one off. So Cruz versus Lord here. Home third. Pirates up 1-0.
So let me ask you all about Cruz a little bit, if y'all don't mind.
Which one?
O'Neill.
Yeah, distinction.
O'Neill Cruz, right? What is the point at which I feel like that he is someone who is both greatly appreciated and also people are very frustrated. Like he's older. He's significantly older than okay, we have Ellie De La Cruz, who is this tools monster. And you're like, can you believe what Ellie De La Cruz did today? Okay, he struck out 3 times today.
And by the way, JJ, real quick, Cruz just clocked a double. 1-out double here in the home third. Yeah, just to spite you, but
no, but so that kind of fits with this, right? Which is I kind of feel like O'Neal Cruz, this is what he is. Like, he may get better, but we just kind of also have to accept that he may just be this, where he gives you that maddening day where the ball just goes right by him to the wall. And then the next day he does something where you're like, and now you just redeemed yourself.
For me, the big thing that jumps out in some of the underlying data is like he's become very passive this year. Swing rates down, chase rates down. You know, like I often like to see the chase rate down, especially with the strikeout rate drop for him, and like the walks are up, and you might be like, yeah, like look at him. He's kind of a little bit more, ooh, nice piece.
Yeah, and he's going to score here. Ryan Reynolds coming through. 2-0 Pittsburgh.
That might be all that Paul Skenes needs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But to your Cruz point there, like I think the passivity's good, but I do think like most of the Cruz upside comes through power. So kind of feels like he's toggling the line here where it's like, how passive can you be? You know, like, are you just not swinging because you're uncertain where your zone is? Or can you start to lock in on like, oh, I'm just going to swing here where I can do damage? Whereas prior year, it was like, I'm striking out. What is he striking? Like 35% of the time? You know, that's like, or 30. He was 30 flat last year. Now it's way down, but it's like the slug has been lost. So like his overall net as a player from like a WRC plus standpoint is right at average. He was better last year when he was more aggressive. So I don't know. Like I think he's clearly trying to work through something, JJ. I don't know if you agree.
It seems to me kind of with that, it's like it's one of those things where you see this so much in the minors, right? Where it's like, hey, check out this guy's on base percentage, you know, in A-ball. And it's like the old scout adage is that if you went to the FSL and you said, I'm just not going to have a bat, right? I'm going to Miguel Vargas in spring training this.
350 OBP, yeah.
390, you know, where it's like, because I think it would also mess with the heads of the pitchers where it's like, he's not going to swing no matter what I do. And you would be like, whoa, I'm missing more. Why am I missing more? I could just lob this over. But like, you know, so I always look at it in the minors. I kind of look at that like okay, he's got a 390 OBP. In the majors, a guy who's got a 320, you know, batting average with a 370 OBP is not necessarily better than the guy who has a 270, 370 because, you know, BABIP kind of varies and all that. Get to A-ball, to me, the flip side is true, right? If you're like, he's 240, 380, that probably means he's not swinging enough. Where if it's like he's 320, 340, it's like, don't worry, he hits everything. Down the road, he'll start to add those secondary skills when he finally needs to, because the problem for him right now is this is just all too easy for him.
Yeah. I mean, I think the slight hesitation is just like, okay, he's already 26, you know? Like, I think it's more appealing when the guys say, we got him there.
Yeah, strike him out, throw him out.
It's more appealing when the guy's a little younger and it's like, oh, look at him at 23 making these adjustments. Like, I can't wait to see the next 3 years. And it's like, well, it's like O'Neal's still working through it. You know, maybe he's not kind of a finished product until he's 27, 28. So at that point, are you betting that he's a late bloomer and plays until he's 34 and the bat speed doesn't drop? Like, what happens when the bat speed drops as he inevitably ages? So, like, his projection from a long-term 3-year window perspective is a little, I wouldn't say I'm, like, scared, but, like, it's not as attractive as, like, Ellie De La Cruz is, you know, who's younger and already kind of made that disciplined adjustment overall, I would say.
Right, because you've seen Ellie make 5 steps in the past 3 years, and O'Neal Cruz has made 3 steps in the past 5 years. And you kind of just kind of map that out. I see you, Jamin. And by the way, the Woo Sox, you know, I will say, I don't know if they would be playing more competitive because as much as I love Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer, there's not a whole lot of other guys around that on that Woo Sox team.
Oh, I gotta see. What did he say? Was he saying? Wait. I guess something in my head. Oh yeah. See, I just replaced the Red Sox with the White Sox. I thought it was going to be one of those, can the Woo Sox beat the White Sox? But actually, the White Sox beat the Red Sox in 2 out of 3 this week, or over the weekend. Anyway, by the way, if you are watching us on YouTube, that's going to get turned off soon because we're encouraging you to watch us on Playback for the second screen experience here. I'm actually logging into our YouTube to see how many offenders we have right now. Not too many, but if you want to move over, now's the time. We're going to turn that off soon because it's free to get an account. It's free to watch the game tonight. through MLB.TV's free game of the day. So that's why we're doing this. So swing by, say hello, and watch the Pirates taking a 2-0 lead now over Washington with Skenes back on the mound again. A couple RBI knocks.
I do get it though. By the way, if you're for the Red Sox fans, I see it's the Rays 3-0 over the Red Sox, and the Rays got the best of both worlds. Push Shane Baz back a day, give it a little bit extra rest, and then let the Braves have to deal with Joe Boyle, who Rays fans are like, "Oh, this will wait." We're getting the call up from AAA. What? 99?
Oh, yeah.
Nasty.
Ruiz flies out to O'Neal Cruz. Yeah, tough weekend for Boston. I mean, we're going to start talking soon on Hot Sheet about the countdown clock for Roman Anthony, JJ, when they just go, okay, we need a spark.
So Ellie for us had a piece today calling up the StatCast standouts, because he did make a little note about Roman Anthony today, that if you look at what he's done, again, small sample size, all that, but if you look at what Anthony's done so far, he's also been really passive so far this year, and it may work out for him, but at the same time, it's like he is kind of going through a little bit of kind of an adjustment with that, where, okay, that passivity could pay off long term. He's always been a guy who'll take his walks, but he's been a little bit more passive. Second, little taste of AAA compared to last year. And, so we'll see. Maybe he does need a little bit of time to kind of, just, again, he's very young, kind of add a little bit to that, I add a little bit of this refinement.
Yeah, let him simmer a little.
But again, Ellie's point also is if you look at this, though, this could, in the long run, just make him even higher ceiling in the long run. If he, kind of adds this, like, okay, I mean, not passive, but I'm even a little bit more selective, because we know, obviously, when he makes contact, he makes premium contact.
Yeah, Andrew Heaney joshing with Nate Lowe there. You see that?
What was Heaney doing?
Lowe fouled one into the Pirates dugout, and Heaney pointed towards the field and was hit it over there.
Yeah. And those are former teammates actually from a couple of years ago, right, with the Rangers. Both
I didn't even
World
realize
Series together, because I was trying to put the math together. I'm like, they're just messing around. No, they're buddies. So Lowe down looking. How's that one?
Yeah, another backdoor sweeper there. Yeah, it's just such a tough pitch. I could look up the swing rate on that quick, but I can't imagine there's a lot of lefties that are comfortable swinging at that. It just locks you, And for him he did it 1-0 to Wood, and now he does it 2 strikes to Lowe. It's just a brutal pitch, honestly, to do anything with as a hitter.
And Skenes is at 61 tosses. Here comes number 62 on the night to Josh Bell, who fouls it off. Yeah, really working that outside corner. And he's caught the corner quite a bit on some called strikes that are just on the border, and he's getting the calls too. Now he works himself in and gets a swing and miss on the 96 heater. It's
tough too. I feel like you're seeing a lot of. I wonder if his chase, swinging outside the zone is almost slightly artificially inflated, because those fastballs are so borderline on the shadow outer third that as a lefty you're kind of just I guess I'm going to try to swing, Whereas opposed to you're actually chasing because you're messed up by the pitch shape or whatever, anything along those lines. But he's got a lot of those shadow fastballs outer third that are just man, that's 50-50 for you. It's if you want a shot, you can try to swing. And it's it's probably the only thing you're going to hit in this AB, so they will swing. There's a change right there, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
3-2. Let's see what he does. Shaking his head.
Disappointed that
I know,
it wasn't as competitive.
65 pitches. And
yeah, what are we doing? Right?
Nationals.
There you go. Gets a little bouncer. I think it's a good time for us to talk about something Lance brought up on Foul Territory today, is what is the identity of Paul Skenes as his career progresses, right? So he talked in spring training about how he wants to go deeper into games. He was on foul territory in the winter, but right before spring training, talking about an emphasis on just getting to the zone as much as possible because he knows how nasty his stuff is. This all plays to him wanting to give the Pirates more innings, which, I mean, you want to be able to do that. And that's your most, I mean, it's one of the things that makes you most valuable because there's so few starters that do it these days, JJ. So what do you think of Skenes maybe racking up some more weak contacts in order to get some quicker ABs?
I think I want to see him working deeper in games. I also think I get the weak contact idea. It's one of those things that to me, though, becomes difficult.
Oh, wait, JJ, we lost you a little bit. Something changed with your mic.
I'm here?
Yep, you're back.
Okay. Well, the thing is I think in the abstract, it makes a ton of sense, right? At the same time, it's one of those things where if that happens on your way to your goal of getting the guy, of dominating the guy, that's great. I don't want Paul Skenes, though, to get in his head that it's like, hey, I know I could blow this guy away, but I think that I could get him on this changeup here or whatever. Because I don't want Paul Skenes, when we talk about what is Paul Skenes going to be, I want him working deep in games. He showed in LSU that he could do that. Really good at it, maintain his stuff. But I just don't want to see Paul Skenes, Craftsman pitcher, he works 8 innings tonight. He struck out 3, a lot of ground balls. That doesn't, that's not the Paul Skenes I want to see. I want to see the Tarek Skubal version of Paul Skenes, the right-hander, Skubal, who's like, I'm going to just dominate. I'm going to put up a low 2 ERA. I'm going to also strike out a ton of guys.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think the main thing for me is wondering if there's some bounds to strike, or if it's just the natural ebb and flow of a given season. Because it'd be really fun if I don't know what the Pirates' playoff aspirations are, but you think of Skenes in a situation where he knows he'll be pitching in the playoffs. I've always wondered whether the Dodgers are a team that kind of plays with usage in season, where they're like, man, just I'm not going to throw this pitch that I know is really good because I just don't want you to think that I throw it 10 to 20% of the time, such that I'll break it out in the playoffs. We saw a bit of this last year too in the playoffs, where Tanner Bybee added a sinker, Garrett Cole started throwing a sinker. You just see these extra wrinkles thrown in September, and then it just puts the thought in your head as a playoff team of oh, maybe this guy will throw this pitch a ton. And I've always thought about that with Skenes. It's what if he's doing that in the regular season, where it's I've written down a splinker usage went from 28% to 39% this year. That's the in-zone contact neutralizer. That's I don't really want to work deep count. Here's this pitch, try to lift it. It's going to be in the zone. You're not going to. Boom, out 1, or out 1, out 2. You know what I mean? He can get through lineup super quick. But I do think he has the ability just to toggle to anything he wants and generate swing miss. He wants to throw more sweeper to righties one day. Boom. He wants to backdoor the sweeper to lefties a ton. Perfect. More changeup today. Perfect. He has so many wrinkles. I think that's what makes him so fascinating. Where this overall swinging strike rate for him is not actually down year over year, but the raw strikeout rate is, which implies to me that I don't know if he's just trying to go after certain hitters differently, where it's just put the ball on the ground. I don't want to work deep count with you. And I wonder whether it's more galaxy brain than that, where he's looking at specific hitters and he's man, this guy can battle me. I could throw 6-7 pitches here. You're getting 4 splinkers. You know what I mean? And then he sees a James Wood and it's okay, I'll maybe pitch you differently. I'll try to strike you out or something along those lines.
That's what I'm wondering.
You can play some chess here. I think that's what makes him such a good pitcher.
Valdez, by the way, walks, and now here comes Hayes, who had the first run driven in earlier in this game. Then they caught him at first. But I'm with you there, Lance. I do think he can look at a lineup like tonight and say, all right, there's a few I got to be a little more careful with, maybe go for the punch out. But there are a bunch lower in the lineup that probably aren't going to do damage against me. So especially if I'm facing them with nobody on, I better get some quick outs. Whether those are punch outs or weak contact, I'll take it. I could see him advancing to that kind of level because, JJ, it is cool to see how often Paul Skenes can go 8 versus how often he can go 6 with 12 punch outs.
And the thing I love that what Lance said also there, though, is that, and this is something that if the Pirates can make a playoff run at some point, can we dream? But if they could, or Paul Skenes when he's a Dodger in 2030, 2031.
I wasn't going to say
it. But it does, if you just think about it, the way Skenes pitches makes him, again, when I say advanced scouting, I don't want to make it sound like advanced scouting like it used to be. But, when you come in as a team and the hitters have their hitters meeting, right? And you're like, this is what Skenes does to this. This is what he does. And it's like, he can flip that script, like Lance said, every time through the lineup, every time he faces a team. Like if he faces a team multiple times in a playoff series, he could be like a completely different pitcher where just when you think you've got him pegged, like, oh, this is what he was, it made me think of like Greg Maddux, right? Like the great Greg Maddux stories of where he would deliberately throw, like, I'm going to give up a homer here up 8-1 because I know that by doing that, I'll be able to get Jeff Bagwell in the postseason because he'll be like, oh, when he does this, he comes to this, and that's when I'm going to get him. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I worked with Smoltz for a long time, and he would have stories like that too, not just about Maddox, but about himself, where, there was one year where he's getting everybody all worried about something, I think, towards the end of the year, and then doesn't use it at all, in the playoffs, but just gets it in their head. Stuff like that. I mean, that's next level. Anyway, we're flying through here. We're completing 4 innings already in Pittsburgh. It's 2-0 Pirates, couple RBI singles, getting the job done for now. Key Brian Hayes with one of them, and the other belonging to Brian Reynolds, who knocked in O'Neill Cruz. We'll flip over to Philly for a few. Giants doubling up the Phillies. Oh, they must have went on a nice little run here since we last visited, Lance.
What happened to Taiwan Walker? Yeah, I'm curious to see that line. I'm not paying attention here.
I'm looking now trying to see what happened.
And Taiwan Walker at home, I mean, that's a tough place to pitch if they don't like you. And he was really here in the last year. Right? No, he really went through. He's a nice guy and had a nice first start. But Phillies fans aren't paying that close of attention to what he's doing, on the road and a small sample size. So they still mostly have last year etched into their mind, and they're thinking, why is this guy pitching for us? But Suarez was out. They needed him to fill in a spot.
Yeah, so
we'll get Andrew Painter soon too.
We run Homer and Willie Adames Homer.
JJ, let's talk about the Phillies here quickly. But Andrew Painter looked fantastic in his first outing. Data looks great on him from what I've seen. Is he your guys' number one pitching prospect at BA, or at least yours personally?
So we're having some fun debates about this right now, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't put him number one right now, even though he's back, right? But
sure.
Right now, if you said at this moment best in the minors, right? Because we got a lot of guys who come up, I might go Bubba. I mean, when you talk about I love the progression of Bubba, who when Bubba Chandler was in high school, it was like he's 93, 95, and he can reach back for a 7 if he needs it. And then he goes to pro ball, and in 23, it's like he's 95, and he can reach back for 97, 98 if he needs it. Then in 24, it's like he's 96, 97. And by the way, there's 99 when he needs it. And then this year now he's 98, 99. And by the way, there's 101.5 if he needs it, and dotted it for strike 3, with 101.5. And you're like, and again, it's fastball. It's got good movement characteristics too. Although I love to say, you get to 101, 102, 103, and you can be a little bit more, like Lance is the expert more than I am on this, but you can be a little less picky about your movement characteristics, when you start getting into the ball is, heating up as it reaches, re-enters the atmosphere kind of.
Yeah. Velo just protects against bad shape, basically. This is the whole Skenes coming out of college debate where some people were like, I don't like the fastball shape. And it's like, well, he's never going to be able to divert the fastball. Like he's a low slot guy. So you just got to kind of accept and analyze as is. The one thing I'll say on Chandler is I haven't dug into him too much this year, but last year I was a little underwhelmed by his slider. It didn't generate a ton of chase. Swing miss was kind of okay. So to me, I looked at him and I was like, okay, this is awesome power fastball, really good changeup, and then nothing glove side. So is it just going to be righty problems for him? Whereas Painter, to me, it was okay, I see 3 quality breaking balls, kind of weirder four seam shape. So I'm more confident in him not having platoon problems right off the top. I went Painter 1, but it's close.
But I would say this though, right? This is now where this gets all crazy, and we could have a fun discussion on this, which is But then you look at where Bubba is, and I know he's in AAA and he's really close and all this, but I look at that nowadays, kind of what you're saying here, which is like, is that he doesn't have it, or is that he doesn't have it yet? Because like whenever I talk to, pitching coaches and pitching gurus and all, it seems like it used to be as like a guy could spin it or not. And now it's like, if we can't teach a guy a breaking ball that will work, then we're not doing it right, because we have so many. It's almost like they now just open the toolbox and it's like, or it's like a sommelier and it's like, do you want a bullet slider or do you want a sweeper? Or, I think a power slider will work for, like there's all these different options now where I agree with you in some ways. It's not there yet, but I kind of feel like it's like if a guy can throw 100, I can't imagine that we're not going to get him to some form of, okay, this is going to kind of bridge some of those weaknesses in his arsenal right now. Am I overboard on that?
No, I think I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's for me, it's always that thing of like, okay, if the guy hasn't done it, how much do I project him to do it?
That's the crazy part of this now.
That's the hard part of pitching analysis now, where it's like everyone's adding pitches, so it's like, okay, I can just project all these guys to have 5 pitches, but like, are they going to? Can I isolate who is? I don't know.
Hold up,
this is my
real
crazy
quick.
Draft theory. Sorry, this is my crazy draft theory with this, right? Which is, we're talking about this year's draft. I saw y'all were talking about that a little bit with Carlos before I got here, or as I got here. You've got, like, I'm not saying you don't take a pitcher at the top of the draft, right? Paul Skenes, we're watching Paul Skenes. This is the perfect example. Take a pitcher at the top of the draft. But at the same time, to me, it's got to be almost like they've got the full arsenal right now. Then that's the guy you take at the top of the draft. Beyond that, then I'm like, we've seen so many examples of how you can turn the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounder into that guy, that you can't do that with hitters, right? Like, so I kind of feel like after that, I'm really intrigued by taking the hitters first, because you can't help guys hit as much as you can say, hey, we found a breaking ball for this guy, or we found 4 miles an hour for this guy, or all these things like that, where it's like Zebby Matthews goes from being Zebby Matthews to being Zebby Matthews kind of thing. Brian Wu, Joe Boyd.
We looked a really good AB there with Skenes Cruz. I don't know if that's who you're going to bring up.
Yeah, JJ, I don't know if your feed's back yet.
No, it's not. Sorry.
Nah, bummer. Yeah, we had a good Skenes Cruz battle here. A 3-2, and he did get some weak contact. Hayes made a nice play. I mean, that's what he's known for. Key Brian Hayes plays a really nice third base, gets the job done. But also before that, Paul DeYoung struck out and just sent his bat flying over to the third base side. So impressive performance. Say, right? Yeah, impressive performance so far here from Skenes, who's completed 5. Let me double check where we're at with pitch count, because I'm hoping we can get maybe 2 more 79 innings out of him. 79. So we're he looks great. 79. Yeah, we're close. I mean, right? We're gonna probably look at about 100 pitch cap for Paul. So hopefully, I mean, he'd have to get through a pretty quick inning here. But also, if you're Pittsburgh, Lance, I mean, their bullpen's not great. I'll even take a couple batters of Paul Skenes in the next half. Whatever I can get, right? If I'm Derek Shelton, I'm like, you tell me how much I can get. And also, it's been pretty stress-free. So I do feel like sometimes we overlook that part of the puzzle too. I mean, stress-free pitches from Paul Skenes. He's not pitching with bases drunk much. I mean, there's almost nothing against him tonight. So, I mean, it's 1 hit for the Nationals. Barely any traffic.
That Cruz AB was nutty because he started sweeper away. Let me see if I have the pitch log. Sweeper away, called strike, and then he goes changeup, right changeup, inner third, and Cruz swung right through it. And I'm trying to look up quickly how often he throws right changeups, because I just don't feel like he does that a ton because of the splinker. But that is kind of menacing. And then he kind of goes out of the zone on 3 straight pitches, and he's like, man, what am I doing? Really good foul ball, 98 up, and then elevates the splitter. I think that was accidental location, and it gets him to ground out. But that was a fun sequence.
Yeah, it was.
I thought he had him in his bag. I thought like that was a classic like 3-pitch K from Skenes, and then Pitching Ninja cuts it together and is like, that's one of the nastiest of the year, where it's like sweeper away, change up in, and then 99 up right by him. But it just we didn't get there.
Yeah, that one did have some extra meaning to it. Obviously, the former teammate. So JJ, it looks like I can almost see the game in your glasses. So I'm feeling good about these last few innings.
This is much better.
All right, this is
Sorry
fun,
for talking
right?
over that earlier. I missed a great at bat.
You're good. You're good. Let's do this. Pirates half of the fifth starts with FAM 7-8-9 due up for Pittsburgh. They've got 2 on the Nationals right now as they open up a series here on a Monday on Playback with Scotty Braun, JJ Cooper, and Lance Brazdowski. Thanks everyone that's catching us right now. And yeah, we're still hanging on YouTube, but this is the last half inning. And then we'll be off of there for 6 through 9. FAM working a leadoff walk for Pittsburgh against Brad Lord, who's holding up. I mean, he's teaming the game, but it happens to be a Skenes night.
Just the second right changeup Skenes has thrown this entire season to his former teammate Dylan Cruz. So that's like one of the subplots of pitching and hitting matchups I love is like when a guy never does something and then does something. Like I was listening to Dallas Braden's Slab Lab show with Logan Webb, and he said he broke out his cutter the first time versus Ohtani. And I was like, yeah, that's probably the perfect time to bring out a pitch. Like Ohtani's report is like, yeah, he's he's sinker change. He's probably going to try to get you change away. Maybe that sinker will come inside. And then it's like cutter. And it's like, what? Like, that must be so frustrating for good hitters, But I love that little game within the game.
I'm with you.
Something and using it. It's fun.
I saw Poche in the pen, and I will say, like, this is the sad thing of the crazy thing of how baseball evolved so quickly, right? When Colin Poche was first coming up, I spent way too much time trying to figure out what it was about his fastball. And that was before I'd ever heard the term IVB, and VAA. And it was like, what is it about his fastball? And it's like a couple years later, it's like, oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's why it works at 91, right?
Yeah. Hey, we had that for a long time. We would use much more basic terms for it. But
we didn't even know. We didn't know how to measure it. Like it was, it was like we didn't have the tools.
Right, but we would just be like, how come they can't touch this fastball?
Yeah.
Been lively.
That's one thing I wish we could do retro history and go back and look at some shapes of like really old pitchers. I don't know if we'll ever be able to, or maybe, I don't know, maybe AI can help us estimate someday or something. But I'd love to know like Maddox shapes, Mariano Rivera's cutter shape, like some of these little things that were just kind of lost.
Ooh, good call. Nice piece of hitting there for Adam Frazier, connecting the other way, going through for a base hit with 2 on now in the bottom of the 5th for Pittsburgh. Over the plate
still
there.
Just ripping fastballs.
And here's Isaiah kind of Falefa. Man, JJ, I really would have loved to see the Nats do their Jason Worth move, or even a starter, right? I mean, a Fried, a Snell, one of those guys. I get it. They messed up with Strasburg, quote, messed up. I mean, he won them a World Series. He was their homegrown guy, but Scherzer was one of the better signings of the past 15 years.
And well, not only that, but like, if you look at it, I mean, yeah, their spending succeeded, right? Like the whole goal is to win the if you said what has happened with the Nationals, since they came to DC, that's what we're going to talk about, right? They won it all. And it did seem a little weird to me that this was not the year to kind of say, okay, it's time to start, because they have the core pieces now, right? To Rizzo and the whole front office's credit, it's hard to not, you're never going to win a Juan Soto trade, but it's really hard not to really lose it. And they didn't. And most teams do lose that. Like, right. You see that over and over.
Hey, the Pirates lost the Garrett Cole trade, that's for sure. They went quantity over quality. I don't think they got anything out of that one.
I mean, the Nationals' great thing is they went quantity and quality, because it's like, hey, we want James Wood, and we want Mackenzie Gore, and they just like
DJ Abrams,
like, Harlan Susana. How about like they piled it in, and credit to them on that. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like Yeah. Okay. So Scott, like in last two, who would have been the guy that you would have liked to seen them add in this free agency? You said Freed, like like a Freed, but
Yeah.
You're talking the Pirates,
they're Nationals.
Nationals.
Freed or Burns for me. Lance, what
Yeah,
about you?
pitching. I mean, I don't know if there's any other names that jump out. I mean, where are the defensive holes? They have like they need outfielders, right? Like they have like Call and someone else, or they went to Young.
No, they really don't. But I mean, like if you say you've got Cruz, you've got Jacob Young, who's at least good defensively,
okay.
and
Yeah,
you
you're
got,
good in the outfield.
and you got Wood,
Got
and you got Call. They're pretty good there.
Yeah, I was fine with Lowe as the pickup for first. That's
Okay.
nice. But I mean, for
Yeah,
me,
so
for
it's pitching
example,
then, right?
third, yeah, pitching would have been number one for sure because I think they're going to rank pretty low in that category. They do already to start the year. Technically, Brady House is in the minors, who I mean wasn't good last year. I haven't tracked where he's at this year, JJ, but I would have liked to see them pick up a third baseman.
Plate appearances.
Okay, I mean, obviously, a Bregman and Adames, somebody like that who could play, third and or short, would have been a nice pickup. That was what people were looking at as more of the worth signing. For me, I was like, this rotation has outperformed expectations, right? Not a very hyped up rotation, but they've done some things well. I'm like, definitely needs a horse, needs an ace. We haven't seen it from them, but I thought that would have made a pretty big difference. And somebody obviously who you could rely on for several years to come. Like I would have thrown, 7 or 8 years at Corbin Burns, or obviously Freed got his 8 years from the Yankees.
The thing about it is because the great thing about that is you're not blocking anyone there, right? You're just saying, okay, Mackenzie Gore, you get to move down one spot in the pecking order. If Josiah Gray makes it all the way back and is good, like, okay, you're one spot lower. If Alex Clemme or Harlan Susanna or, these young guys that got coming up, that's fine. Okay. We're not going to ever have a problem where it's like, we have too much pitching.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Colin Poche in the game now.
Hey, your guy, JJ.
Yeah, that really seemed like that was almost like a designed halfway pitch out there,
Yeah, it was a little weird.
Like it was like it's no Cruz, so he may swing, but as Lance noted, he's getting more passive. But that maybe we can get him, but at the same time, it was really designed more for the pickoff throw than anything else.
And, some Foul Territory fans were like, why did you guys pick this game? Well, first off, it's a Skenes game. It's cool.
Skenes.
Second of all, yeah,
come on.
There was another reason. It's the MLB free game of the day. So if you have an MLB.TV account, but you're not a paid account, you can still watch this game, which is pretty cool. So we wanted to give people an opportunity that have been following these other games for us. I know it's not the dream matchup of teams, but I'll take Skenes all day. Oh, and it's dropped.
No.
Tommy Pham is going to stay put.
You had to, because you have to assume that's going to be caught.
Of course, Alex Call can't come up with the baseball in shallow right field, so bases are all loaded up here for Brian Reynolds. Great spot for Pittsburgh.
Maybe like a little Cruz learning moment there too, like 3-1. He's trying to pitch you away. Like he swung at that. I know it's on plate, but like that's not productive contact. Like that's kind of the things I'm watching where it's like, okay, he's become more passive, but like, is he actually swinging in spots he could do damage? And like,
you have a plan there, right? Like, because you're trying to do something with that pitch that couldn't really be done.
And he got lucky, but like, I don't know. I would have been fine with him taking a free pass there. It's fine, like just move on, move the line along. Better chance of just you moving to first.
Yeah, especially you're batting leadoff. You've got it's not the most fearsome order ever, but you got the heart of the order.
Yeah, Reynolds giving that one a ride to center, and that'll score Pham. 3-0 Pittsburgh on the sac fly for Brian Reynolds, who's driven in 2 tonight. Yeah, I'll jump into your Cruz debate too, and play more of like your layman fan's perspective.
Sure.
What if he is just what he is, right? Like an above average bat. I mean, they're getting him into center field, okay, but I don't know if I see the ceiling, even though the exit velocity is there, that I do with, say, Ellie De La Cruz.
Oh, Ellie's better. Yeah. There's no question.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things like we definitely cherish like exit velocity, bat speed, etc., and we also cherish like stuff on the pitching side. I think we're starting to at least, and I do think like as coaches have told me, and I'm sure they've told you, JJ, too. It's like that's more so like almost like a potential number, you know? It's like this guy's raw tools are amazing. It's kind of like spin rate. It's like, okay, the spin capacity is great, but like, what is the actual resulting movement? Or for a hitter, like, what are the actual resulting batted ball angles relative to that exit velocity? What are their swing decisions alongside that with stuff? Like we've seen this with Joe. He hasn't been great at the major league level. He's taken away the 2 pitches that have his best stuff plus numbers. So it's one of those things where I always find that fascinating of like, I do think it's a good process to bet on those individual traits, but I also think that the best teams are the ones that have the coaches that are able to like tether the 2 lines and like take the big raw EV guy and make them good, or take the pitcher with big stuff and like understand the usage balance that gets him to be a good results-based pitcher. Like those seem like 2 different beasts, although I think on the public side, we're just like, oh my God, he hit a ball 122. And it's like, cool, there's 55 hitters better than him in Major League Baseball. So what's it worth? And it's like, I'm the data guy. I love that stuff. But like, I do think like sometimes in the moment we get a little caught up on individual numbers when like really measuring those things to project better rather than like immediately reflect and tell a story about a 122 ball hit right into the ground, you know, like just my 2 cents. But
the rough thing I would say also with that though is like you mentioned, it's like you have organizations who are really better at taking those raw tools. Like to use an example I mentioned a little earlier, right? When you see that the Rays are acquiring Joe Boyle in kind of what seems like a pretty modest trade, I immediately like, you know, if there's any organization out there that I'd be like, I'm going to give a guy who throws a 99 mile an hour unhittable fastball.
Ooh, there's a knock, by the way, for Valdez. And that's going to score 2 for Pittsburgh to break this one open. Valdez is nabbed at second, but the Pirates have a big inning here, a 3-run frame to make it 5-zip. Score 2 more on that knock from Valdez on an 8-hit night for the Pirates. I was talking earlier about how the Pirates have, you know, a hole at first base right now. Not tonight. I'm still going to stand by what I said, JJ. I think they need to do more work up first.